This is CBC Here and Now.
Military divers are in Conception Bay South for an explosive mission.
The easiest way to describe it would just be a bullet, but about 100 times bigger.
They're clearing the ocean of war ammunition.
Well, we've got some thunderstorms on the go for the southwest. A rainy start to the weekend, but things are going to improve.
It's very troubling and it's very difficult to hear.
The Justice Minister and the opposition want to know if there's a systemic problem of sexual assault at the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary.
This has to be dealt with before, more things happen to our citizens.
Coming up on Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Anthony Germain.
And I'm Carolyn Stokes. We begin with a story that spans from our shores to a country nearly 4,000 kilometers away.
Here and Now has been following the situation out of Bay Bulls and Conception Bay, where 3 foreign ships have been anchored, their crews sick with COVID-19. Now, 2 of those ships have left. But in Portugal, families of the fishermen aboard 2 of those ships are protesting, saying the company in charge didn't properly care for its crew members. Now, we now know that 2 crew members are at the Health Sciences Centre in St. John's, both in intensive care. One of those ships has already returned to work, though some people on board it are still sick. The Portuguese ambassador to Canada says some crew may have been vaccinated, but that wasn't a requirement.
It's a policy like, people that remain in Portugal were not vaccinated yet. We have only more or less half of the population completely vaccinated, like here, You don't have here in Canada any policy to avoid people to travel without being vaccinated. In Portugal, there is not. I think there is not one single country in the world that has that policy.
Now, as I mentioned, the families of those fishermen back in Portugal are not happy. The ambassador tells me there's an ongoing investigation into the company's actions, and we'll have more of my conversation with the Portuguese ambassador that's coming up ahead on Here and Now in about 30 minutes.
Well, the number of allegations against members of the RNC continues to grow. A dozen women have come forward saying they've been sexually assaulted by an officer. Now, the opposition wants the province to do something about it. Here and Now's Mark Quinn has been following this story.
Lawyer Lynn Moore says the number of women coming to her with allegations is increasing every day. 12 women now say they were sexually assaulted by RNC officers. The number of officers accused is 7. The PC leader is calling on the Justice Minister to take action.
There's no reason why the minister, as we hear almost on an hourly basis, there's more and more allegations coming forward, that the minister shouldn't step up, appoint an independent individual to do a review of what's happening here.
We want to know if it is a systemic issue. We want to investigate and find out it is. It's not something we want to let continue on, obviously.
Any complaint that names names gives police or CERT important information to investigate. There could also be a civil action in court. The minister says he wants to give the women involved more time to consider their options.
It's certainly not the role of minister or government to dictate to them how they want to do that, because it's obviously very sensitive, troubling, and difficult time for any victims and survivors to have to deal with this. So we don't want to say, look, we're going to call a public inquiry and compel these individuals to come forward and tell their stories when they may not want to. So we do need to give them a little bit of time with their lawyer to talk about how they want to move forward with that.
Hogan says the Justice Department won't decide today, but it is looking at its options too.
In terms of a workplace assessment, a workplace review, it's something that the department is looking at and we talked about over the last couple of days. And how that looks and how we go forward with that, we're looking into that now.
Whatever happens, the Justice Minister says a new RNC chief will be named by next Friday. And for whoever becomes that chief, these allegations will likely be a priority. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
It's been a fairly gray day across the province. We do have some showers just offshore right now for eastern areas of the island. Pretty nice day with some increasing cloud up across Labrador, but the main story really is the west coast. Lots of showers, even some thunderstorms for southwestern portions of the island right now. It's just past this because the radar is off. You can't see it, but in and around here is where we're seeing all of those thunderstorms right now. That risk will continue as we head through the evening hours numbers tonight up towards Corner Brook, even maybe a further north than that. But we are looking at periods of rain continuing as we head through the overnight tonight. Here's a main look at what we're going to see through Saturday morning. Somewhere between 30 to 50 millimeters is certainly possible by the time we get there. Even some pockets of some heavier rain, upwards of 50 plus if we do see some of that heavier rain. But I'll get in all the details, to time that out for you and get into the weekend forecast when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. An apartment building in Grand Bank has been destroyed after a fire broke out around 10:30 last night. All of the tenants safely evacuated the 3 units in the building. Fire departments from Grand Bank and Fortune battled the fire. They do not believe it to be suspicious in nature. Well, in Carbonear, a 29-year-old was arrested yesterday morning after reportedly fleeing from police on a motorcycle. Officers say the man was driving so fast the front wheel raised off the ground. The driver ultimately crashed. He took off on foot but was later apprehended with the help of a police dog. The bike matches the description of a motorcycle that has fled from police on several recent occasions. The man faces a number of charges, including dangerous operation of a motor vehicle and breach of probation.
Well, as you know, the province's top doctor says Newfoundland and Labrador's mask mandate could be dropped by the second week of August. That's if epidemiology here and across the country remains in good shape and that at least half the province's population is fully vaccinated. Well, that goal is expected to be met by next week. Now, even if masks are no longer mandatory, Dr. Janice Fitzgerald says people should still wear them if they haven't been vaccinated or are around people who may or may not have yet had the jab. Now, masks would still be required in long-term care homes and other spaces where there are vulnerable people. Ahead in about 35 minutes, Peter Cowan will be here to answer some of your COVID questions.
Well, now to the island's south coast, where communities and services are spread far and wide. The hub is Harbour Breton, but if you're a senior or someone with limited transportation options, getting there for appointments can be a major ordeal. But now there's a new inexpensive bus service to help with that. Joining me now is Jade Skinner in Harbour Breton. So Jade, can you start by explaining how this new coastal rides program will work?
It's a partnership through the town of Harbour Breton and Central Health. They applied for funding and were successful through the provincial community transportation program, which allowed us to get this program off the ground. What we're aiming, and hopefully, because we're still in the early stages, we're looking at doing 3 days a week on the Canadian Peninsula and the Fortune Bay North regions. And we'll be traveling to those communities and back to Harbour Breton for seniors and people with disabilities who have primary health care services they need to take advantage of.
And how much will it cost people to use the service?
Actually, right now it costs them $5, which is, incredible for those people because $5 is not much. Usually those people are paying a lot more than that to get even a family member to bring them to Harbour Breton for services. I mean, sometimes they miss appointments just on account of the financial burden, and the South Coast is wide, so it's pretty far. And then not only is it financially, hard for people, but then you have to actually get someone to take their day, take a full day, bring you to Harbour Breton and back again. I mean, it's tough for people.
And you'll be the smiling face behind the wheel of the bus picking everyone up?
Yeah, that'll be me. I'm the community transportation coordinator and bus driver.
And can you talk about the demand for this? How big is the need for this kind of service?
Well, we're anticipating me to be very busy. The area here is probably about half the population is over the age of 55. So we have a lot of isolated communities here, a lot of isolated seniors. Even if you can drive in your community, like smaller communities outside of Harbour Breton, like Hermitage, if you can drive within your community, that's one thing. But to take the highway and come to Harbour Breton, I mean, some seniors are not comfortable with that. And like I said, in communities like Galtas and Brown Counter, people don't have vehicles. There's no need for it in their community. So for them to get the ferry and then get someone else to bring them down here is a real, is a hurdle for them.
Well, Jade Skinner, good luck with it. Thank you so much for telling us about this new service.
Okay, thank you too.
Well, there have been plenty of whale sightings in our waters this summer. We've been sharing a lot of those videos here on the show.
Well, one group has traveled to the province to scan for something else below the surface. Dozens of military divers have come to clean up remnants from the Second World War. Here Now's Enrique Wilhelm has that story.
This story ends with a bang. But to understand why, we'll have to rewind to the beginning in Conception Bay South. These military vehicles are parked here at the marina. It's the starting point for specialized divers. They've come to remove ammunition from 4 shipwrecks which sunk off the coast of Newfoundland during the Second World War.
The Bell Island shipwrecks are 4 of the most amazing shipwrecks in the world. People have been coming to dive with us on them for the last 23 years. The idea that they are getting all those ordinances is part of a bigger picture to, as far as I understand it, to help make them a National Historic Site. So if they, once all the shipwrecks are safer for people to visit, then they can proceed with that.
The inherent risk is always there. You're dealing with unexploded ordnance that's been on the bottom of the ocean for over 70 years. So there's always an inherent risk with that. However, because of our training, it's safe.
This is the second operation of its kind since 2019. So far, they've retrieved 130 projectiles carrying explosives.
The easiest way to describe it would just be a bullet, but about 100 times bigger. They're about 4-inch shell, so they would be about 4 feet tall. But right now, it could be anything that would be down there. Right now, it's looking like it's going to be over after this, because in 2019, we cleared around 80. Right now, we're around 50.
29 divers have been working tirelessly to remove the shells from a ready-use locker since the start of the operation on July 11th.
We had to go down there with our tools like underwater grinders, chisels, and actually break the door off to get in access. We put it into lift bags, bring it up, team puts it on the boat, we bring it ashore, where our EOD team, it's also clearance divers in the Navy, we take them to a disposal site and make it go away, essentially, blow it up.
An underwater detonation could actually damage structures on shore and would disturb the marine ecosystem. Instead, the shells are detonated at a quarry in nearby Holyrood. And that all brings us back to that big bang I mentioned earlier.
It's usually a 2-man lift. You're making sure there's no hazards around before you start moving them around. You don't want any trip hazards. It's just taking all the precautions, and it's never a rush.
2 more divers have just been picked up here at the marina to join the others who've already been working all morning. The mission will end next Friday when they're expecting to have retrieved all the shells. Henrique Wilhelm, CBC News, Conception Bay South.
Well, nice night, I guess. We are seeing some drizzle and some fog in some areas, but got lots of rain on the west coast. I'll get into all the details when I come back.
And still ahead, I'll tell you about an SPCA fundraiser happening in Corner Brook this weekend.
We are in desperate need of this building to be completed.
With all money going towards that desperately needed new shelter.
Welcome back to Here and Now. Well, turning now to Corner Brook, volunteers there are hosting a big fundraiser this weekend for a shelter that's still under construction. The new animal shelter is being built by the SPCA, and there's still a lot of work to be done on the inside. The CBC's Colleen Connors has more.
Saturday, we have Wayward Spruce, the Cause for Paws Wayward Spruce event.
Stella Michelle is a fundraising master who's helped many in this West Coast city. Her newest project is the Cause for Paws, with all money raised going towards the new SPCA shelter being built here in the industrial park. She's putting off a live concert and family event this weekend.
We have live music, we have a bouncy castle for the kids, we have face painting.
Money raised will go to the next stage of the build, installation of the cement floor. If you peek inside, there is just dirt and pipes on the ground right now, and the non-for-profit group desperately needs a new space for its animals.
It's beyond desperate now because the building that they're in, the space that they're using right now, and they've been using it for years and years and years, it's not really good for the animals to be in down there.
The city donated this piece of land a few years ago, and several local contracting companies have signed up to do the work at a reduced cost when they have time. There is a significant pot of money banked already. That will go towards plumbing, electrical, and drywall. But the group is still looking for the public's help to raise $100,000 to make this place move-in ready for cats and dogs.
We adopted 2 dogs from the SPCA here in Corner Brook, and Gypsy and Molly, and they're our life, right? Like, they're part of our family and we love them, and if we can help these cats and the dogs and stuff down there, then so be it. We'll do what we can.
If it seems there is always a fundraiser on the go for the SPCA in Corner Brook, well, you're right. But board members who were not available for an interview today say it's best to look at it as 2 fundraising channels. Besides the new building, there are daily expenses like veterinarian bills, cleaning supplies, food, and staff wages. The board plans on meeting with the city soon in search of more financial aid for the new shelter that will also house the city pound. Any money donated this weekend at the event will go directly towards the new facility.
What we raise is going to go directly to the contractor so that we know that he's paid and all is well and good. And we'll raise money that way. And you can do it by e-transfer, you can do it by dropping off cash or check or whatever, PayPal. There's all kinds of ways people can help.
Well, the fundraiser is happening right here. It's a live concert with lots of family events. That's happening on Saturday from 3 to 10 with all money raised going to the new shelter. And hopefully the weather is a lot better on Saturday than it is today. Colleen Connors, CBC News, Corner Brook.
Well, how about it? Ashley, will the weather be nicer on Saturday than it was today? Terrible looking day in Corner Brook with all that rain.
It will not be pouring rain through the day on Saturday. Things will certainly improve as we get through the weekend, but we do have Friday to get through first. It is going to be a little bit unsettled. And also today, notice those cooler temperatures.
Chilly.
Yeah, it's been chilly out there. Let's take a look at those daytime highs across the board. Another cool day. We can thank that wind shift again. Temperatures only reaching the mid-teens, low to mid-teens for most of the island. Labrador is actually where all that warmth is right now. 18 degrees in Lab City, 22 in Cartwright, same thing for Makovic. And Nain, you're currently sitting at 20, or rather that was your daytime high. You're currently sitting at 12 degrees, so those temperatures have dropped a little bit this afternoon. 18 in Makovic, and then across the island, another cool evening, only seeing sitting around 11 degrees again right now in St. John. So that again is thanks to that wind shift. We've got those easterly winds, 19 kilometers per hour sustained right now, not too much in the way of gusty winds, and we won't really see that either as we head through the night tonight. The winds are really the strongest, and by strongest 22 in St. Lawrence, 26 in Nain. And Makovic, you're seeing your winds out of the northeast at about 15 kilometers per hour. So not a whole lot of wind to speak of. The big story really is all of that rain on the west coast right now. We'll just zoom in a little bit and you can see that moving in, some heavier rain as we head through the evening hours tonight as well. And again, that risk of thunderstorms. Thunderstorms are slowly working their way up towards the Port-au-Port Peninsula. You're going to see that. You're probably already seeing some lightning, or at least off in the distance, and hearing those rumbles of thunder, and that will continue as we head through the evening hours tonight. As you can see, some of that heavy rain will move further north and continue for the majority of the evening hours tonight, bringing some of that rain towards central as well, at least some heavier showers. Likely just in the way of drizzle and or some light showers for eastern areas, but we may see some heavier rain as the morning rolls through. And that area of low pressure is going to stick around with us at least through much of the weekend, but it is going to weaken, which is good news, which means not as much rain. So as far as this is for tomorrow morning, again, 30 to 50 millimeters more than likely in some of those heavier showers. The further east you go, the less rain, trace to 5 millimeters at the most, it looks like at this point. And as we head through the day tomorrow, some areas could push that 50 millimeter mark, certainly on the west coast, as we continue to see some periods of rain. Not as heavy as what we're seeing today, but that risk will certainly be there. As far as temperatures go tonight, they're not going to move too much. We should sit where we are right now, maybe lose a degree or two here and there, but overall the winds will be the strongest out of the northeast for the western areas of the island. Northeasterly is about 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. Showers, the story across the board. Beautiful evening tonight across Labrador. 13 degrees in Happy Valley, Goose Bay, 10 in Lab City, 9 in Nain, and under partly cloudy skies as your overnight weather. And then as far as along the strait goes, it is going to push a little bit further north. So along the strait, you'll probably see a few showers as well. There's that area of low pressure spinning counterclockwise. We're going to see those showers roll through the afternoon, more in the way of drizzle and showers further east, some periods of rain towards the west coast, and they will head a little bit further north for southeastern Labrador as the day goes on. But generally, that's where we're going to see most of the action. And then as we head into the evening hours, we're even going to see potentially some clearing skies in eastern areas of the island, as you can see as we get through the overnight. So as far as temperatures go tomorrow, we're looking at into the teens, southeasterlies, 20 to 40 kilometers per hour, 18 degrees in St. John, same thing for Clarenville. The further towards central we get, temperatures will be hovering somewhere between 12 to 17 degrees as your daytime highs. But again, under gray skies, some more periods of rain towards the west coast, and temperatures in the teens. A little cooler for the northern peninsula, but as we get into Labrador, looking like a beautiful afternoon. Mix of sun and cloud, temperatures between 16 to 22 degrees. Now there is some pretty nice weather for you on the way towards the weekend, and like I said, things improve for the rest of the province, but I'll get into the details when I come back.
Well, Tanya Joy is a fierce athlete as well as an advocate for suicide prevention.
Joy has found peace running through the trails of our province and wants to share her healing process with others who may be going through a similar struggle.
Now, she's organized a 50-kilometer trek from Pasadena to Steadybrook at the end of the month, and it's in honor of her brother. And while all 55 spots have been filled, she took time out of her busy training schedule to tell us all about it.
It's the first ever Joy Run 50 ultra marathon. I offer two distances for people, so the 25K distance and the 50K. I did that because I wanted to give other people an experience what trail running brings. So I wanted to give a 25K distance as well for like new people wanting to try it out. So both distances sold out. I wanted to do it, number one, to bring people together and to be a voice to raise awareness for prevention of suicide, to let people know that anybody who lost somebody to suicide, surviving the loss, that there is help out there for us too, and there is a group. And I wanted just to bring awareness to that and be a voice for our community for it. I lost my brother, Jody, at the age of 47 to suicide, July 13th, 2019. I was struggling with how to deal with it. Every day I would just continue to go on the trails to run, and I found that it was the healing place. It's where I needed to find myself and just to channel through the pain and the emotions, and that's why the trail running and this suicide awareness and prevention is connected together to make the Joy Run 50, because it certainly did bring me to a better place. And now I want to share that with others, help anybody in any way that I can through their journey. When I traveled to the West Coast in end of March of 2020 to train for the 100K Ultra I was supposed to do, I trained for 5 months out there, and that is when I fell completely in love with the trails, and that is when my healing did begin. I felt my brother with me. the whole time, like every run, like in every step that I took. And I still do. But it's a calming feeling now. He used to always tell me that I was too prissy and tell me that, like, out of everybody, like, you're so prissy, you gotta have everything so perfect. And for him to see me running through mud up to my knees, and he would be proud, and he would just be laughing about it, like making such a big deal about him. But he was a good person, and I just hope he's happy where he's to, because this wasn't his happy place anymore. So I want to keep his memory alive, that he was a person who had a life here, and he got lost and didn't know how to get help, and it's okay. But if there's anybody out there that's feeling that way, please reach out, because everybody's life is important.
One Portuguese vessel with COVID-19 aboard has left our waters and is heading back out with a partially infected crew to resume fishing. The Santa Cristina is gone, but the more serious ship, the Princesa Santa Joana, remains in Conception Bay. Here Now has contacted multiple sources in Portugal where some of the families of infected crew members have been protesting outside the company that owns the vessels. And here is what we've discovered. After removing an Indonesian crew member who had tested positive for COVID-19, the fishing voyage went ahead the next day. The Princesa Santa Joana left Portugal for the Grand Banks on June the 24th. On July 2nd, the ship reported that some crew members were showing symptoms. The company owner dismissed this as the flu. They kept on fishing. But it was COVID, and as it began to infect more than 30 crew members, the ship sailed towards Newfoundland and issued a mayday. Canadian Coast Guard responded, taking 3 crew members to hospital in St. John's. 2 remain, both in ICU, and one of them is on life support. Well, joining me now is Portugal's ambassador to Canada, João de Camara. Mr. de Camara, what is the embassy doing to provide assistance to the sick crew members here?
We sent the Chancellor of our Consulate General in Montreal, that covers Atlantic Canada in consular matters, to St. John's to assess the situation in loco, and to contact the captains and the crews of the ships, to contact the health authorities, and also to contact the local agent of the ship owner. At the same time, we got in touch with the families of the fishermen who were at the hospital to make the bridge between them and the doctors, thing that we are still doing. And of course, we offer the captains and crews all the help they needed. So our assistance is with the people here, with the people in Portugal. It's our local authorities that they are taking care of. So,
does Portugal have any policies about, in terms of vaccinating the crew members, because it seems here we are a year and a half into a pandemic and you have a multinational crew that wasn't vaccinated?
No, I don't think they have. They are supposed to have been tested before coming on board, and apparently they were. But of course, the testing is not 100% safe, and sometimes these tests, people are infected and the tests don't show. So maybe this was what happened.
It's definitely unfortunate. But my question, Mr. Ambassador, why weren't they all vaccinated?
They were not, because the policy of in Portugal is to vaccinate according to the age. So some of them should have been vaccinated already. I don't know if they wanted to be vaccinated. One of the person that are at the hospital has age enough to have been vaccinated already. I don't know if he was.
But what do you think of the fact that that's your country's policy, that you're sending people to this side of the world and they don't have to be vaccinated?
No, I think it's a policy like, people that remain in Portugal were not vaccinated yet. We have only more or less half of the population completely vaccinated, like here, You don't have here in Canada any policy to avoid people to travel without being vaccinated. In Portugal, there is not. I think there is not one single country in the world that has that policy.
As you know, sir, there's a man here in very serious condition who's on life support. What kind of assistance are you providing to his family?
Once a day, our Chancellor of the Consulate in Montreal phones the hospital to inquire about the situation, the health condition of the people that are at the hospital, and then transmits the answer he gets. He transmits to the family in Portugal.
Are there any efforts to get the family members, especially of this man who's in critical condition, or any efforts to try to get an exemption so they can travel here to be?
No, they didn't show any will to come. That they have been informed about the health condition. If the situation deteriorates, then we'll have to assess. But for the time being, they didn't say anything about coming to Canada.
Mr. Ambassador, so from your information, the Santa Cristina, one of the vessels that was here because of COVID, that has gone back, or is headed back and is fishing, and then we'll go back to Portugal. The other vessel is still here, Joanna. Any idea as to when that ship will be heading back to your country?
No, I don't have an idea. I think it's up to the ship owner and to the captain of the ship to decide when are they going to sail back. They still have a lot of cases on board. They found that it was better to remain anchored in Newfoundland.
So is there any sense of embarrassment in Portugal about this story? It's an international story now, and as you know, we're trying to take care of your citizens because they weren't vaccinated. What's your sense of how this story is playing back in your country?
What can I tell you? It's of course it's our first word here is to thanks. It's a word of thanks to the authorities in Newfoundland and Labrador. Since the 16th century, that Portuguese fishermen come to shore of Newfoundland to fish and often to find shelter. It's what happened now. Everybody remembers the White Fleet. We had many cases of people that needed assistance in the White Fleet and that had to come to shore. Once again, the Portuguese fishermen needed help, and once again, they got the help they needed from the authorities, and for that, we are very, very thankful. But no, why should it be a sense of embarrassment? I really don't understand your question. Yes, there's cases of COVID in many situations, in many tourists that come to our beaches in the south of Portugal. A lot of people come infected, and
Right,
and that's it. And they were tested. Some of them were vaccinated even, and they came and they infected other people in Portugal. We have many cases of that.
But the owner of the company, sir, the owner of the company dismissed the symptoms as if it was the flu. He went on the record in your country saying that.
Yes, and he's been very criticized because of that. And there's an inquiry about that in Portugal, and let's see what's the conclusion. If it's true or if it's not true. If he was careless or if he was not careless, I don't know. We still don't have that information, so we cannot say it.
All right, Mr. Ambassador, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I am strolling along on the old flat rock hill.
Songs dating back to the 1700s. A little later on Here and Now, Chris Andrews takes us to one of his favorite communities, Flat Rock. Well, there has been good progress with vaccinations. When it comes to first doses, Newfoundland and Labrador has a greater percentage of its population vaccinated compared to any other province. But that's not the same for all age groups. Fewer young people are getting vaccinated, and that's a concern for health officials and experts. Let's bring in here now Peter Cowan to explore the issue. So, Peter, how much does the vaccination rate change according to age?
The short answer is a lot, Carolyn. The overall number of people with at least one dose is just over 82%, but it's not uniform across age levels. Let me show you who's the highest and who's the lowest. So the age group that's the most vaccinated, that's people in their 70s. Overall, 97% of people have had at least one shot in that age group. Health officials have said they never expect 100%, so this is still a pretty impressive number. So which age group has the lowest vaccination level? Well, let's take a look. It is 18 to 29-year-olds. 70% of them are vaccinated, but if you break it down by gender, you get some interesting results here. Fewer men are opting to get the shot. In that age group, let's take a look at the number. Just 66% of them are vaccinated. So that means there's still 1 out of every 3 people in that age group for men have not been vaccinated. I asked immunologist and virologist Rod Russell on his take on why he thinks that is. Here's what he said.
You know, we didn't prioritize that group from the beginning, and that made sense at the time, of course. But now I think we're seeing a situation where that group is also, you know, they've heard for a long time that it's the vulnerable populations, the elderly populations, the immunocompromised. So young people with other, you know, healthy immune systems probably don't think they need it.
So how much of a concern are these numbers for health officials?
Dr. Janice Fitzgerald says there is a bit of concern that we're not seeing those numbers rise very quickly in younger populations. They are making some changes to try and combat that. So in Labrador or the West Coast, they have pop-up clinics, walk-in clinics, so you don't need an appointment, you don't have to try and book it, you can just go in. And in Eastern, they're working on having some of those pop-up clinics to make it easier to get a shot.
We are certainly looking at, you know, where can we go to try to reach the greatest number of people and to in those age groups. So those are plans that are in the works. We're going to be continuing to vaccinate throughout the summer and into the fall. You know, just because we get to a point where we hit 80% doesn't mean that we're going to stop. We want to get as many people vaccinated as possible, and anyone who wants to be vaccinated, we want to vaccinate them. So.
There's been that talk all along about that magic 80% giving us herd immunity. So won't that also protect the people who aren't vaccinated?
Yes and no. Yukon is an example of how you can still have an outbreak even if you have lots of people vaccinated. They're 70% fully vaccinated, about 75% with a first dose. And earlier this month, they had their biggest outbreak of the whole pandemic. Most of those cases, they were people who hadn't been vaccinated. There were things like high school graduation events and other gatherings amongst young people where the virus spread. So if there are still those pockets of people who aren't vaccinated, COVID can find a way to spread within those populations.
Well, other provinces have offered things like a lottery to get people vaccinated. What else could the province do to boost those numbers?
Yeah, the Premier said a lottery is not something they're considering here, and Rod Russell from MUN doesn't think it would really be that effective. But what he does say is effective is the province could get more people to get vaccinated by giving them incentives. Here's how he explains it.
I think what we miss the most right now, all of us, is normal life. So I think anything that gives you a little bit more normal life, so perhaps, you know, access to social activity, access to social gathering, access to you know, all the things that we've missed over the last year. If we can somehow incentivize access to things that we've been missing, that might do it.
In France, they said if you want to go to a bar or cafe, you need to be vaccinated, and people then rushed to get their shots. But Dr. Fitzgerald says they're not going to start doing that here, saying you don't have to wear a mask if you're vaccinated, or you can only go to things like a music event if you've got both doses. She says there are ethical issues with that.
We are not going to require anyone to release personal health information, which a vaccination status would be, to anyone, you know, that is a person's right to decide if they want to do that. So to require it certainly would be infringing on that privacy.
Now, what about businesses? If they want to do that, they may have their own decisions, and Dr. Fitzgerald says she's not going to weigh in on things like, for example, if a gym wanted to require their members to be vaccinated in order to come and use the facilities. Carolyn?
Thanks so much, Peter. That's Here Now's Peter Cowan reporting from the newsroom.
The federal government is hosting a national summit on Islamophobia, and this comes on the heels of yesterday's anti-Semitism summit. The summit was called shortly after 4 members of a Muslim family were run down and killed in London, Ontario. And in his opening remarks, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said no one should face hatred, especially in their own neighborhood.
I know that many in our communities have worried not just about family, but about what this means here at home. So let us be clear. There is no place in Canada for Islamophobia. Not ever. And on the world stage, our government will always stand up for peace and democracy, human rights, freedom of expression, and freedom of belief. This includes through the protection of minorities.
Welcome back. A musical treat for you tonight. We continue with our summer series all about music and place. Filmmaker Roger Monder and Shanniganuk's Chris Andrews are taking us to communities across the province.
Communities that have inspired well-known Newfoundland songs. Well, tonight they bring us to Flat Rock, where traditional tunes have helped capture the town's history.
I'm Chris Andrews, and welcome to Flat Rock, Newfoundland and Labrador, one of my favorite places in the province. We're going to join our good friend Patrick Moran now on the old Flat Rock Hills.
In my memories again I am strolling along, while the birds in the treetops are singing their song, to the place of my childhood through its valleys and dells. I am strolling along on the old Flat Rock Hills.
Well, what I know of Flat Rock is mentioned pretty early on in some of Newfoundland historian writings. Jukes is one that mentions it as early as settlement as early as 1700s to 1800s. Settled primarily again for its proximity to the fishery. Rough spot in terms of a harbour, not an ideal harbour. Again, my understanding is a lot of infrastructure had to be built to make it a safe harbour for land and fish and boats. And the name, of course, would come from the geography of the area. People who saw it from the ocean or from on land were struck by the flat rocks and the hills, flat rocks in the hills.
One of the most popular spots in Flat Rock is Our Lady of Lourdes Grotto, which is built on the St. Michael's Parish Church grounds. In 1954, Father Sullivan returned from France with an idea to build a grotto in Flat Rock. With the help of the community, they began to build in 1954, and by 1958 had completed the site. People visit the grotto from all around the world. Even the Pope was there, September the 12th, 1984. It was a historic day for Flat Rock, as the Pope blessed the grotto and also blessed the fishing fleet.
Old Flat Rock Hills. It hasn't been recorded all that much, I don't think. It's a song about, the description of walking through, living in the town, the geography of the community. So, great song.
The Old Flat Rock Hills was written by Jack Dodd, a Flat Rock native who moved away many, many years ago, and this song was reminiscing about his youth in this beautiful place. Flat Rock also has many great walking trails, and the scenery is unbelievable.
And lots of music in Flat Rock too. Lots of great singers, lots of great musicians, and a place where anytime I've been there to perform on the festival or in the hall, you get a sense that people really value music and traditional song and dance. I mean, it's that theme of getting back home to Newfoundland, close to the sea, close to the hills, walking the old roads, seeing the old faces, that runs right through Newfoundland, the canon of Newfoundland music.
From old Flat Rock Hills, oh why did we part? Here's a health to your people from the threads of my heart, and may I live again to see your valleys and dells, to behold and to stroll again down the old Flat Rock Hill.
Such a beautiful place, Flat Rock. What a great place to go for a walk.
Yeah, nice hiking.
Probably not tomorrow with the weather, but maybe the weekend.
Yep, things are certainly going to improve as we get into Saturday, and then really improve as we get into Sunday. So that's good news. Let's take a look at the future tracker. We'll see some showers continue. That area of low pressure that's going to bring all that rain tomorrow is going to stick around, but it's going to weaken, and also we're going to see less numerous showers through the day on Saturday. And then as we get into Sunday, that area of low pressure moves off and essentially dissipates, and in behind that we should actually see a pretty beautiful Sunday. More than likely going to see some cloud cover stick around in some areas, but overall it'll be fairly nice through the afternoon. And then as we get into Monday, some more rounds of showers will move through, this time affecting mainly Labrador, and it'll continue into Tuesday. So as far as those temperatures go, on Saturday, a beautiful day up across Labrador. Take a look at those temperatures, 25, 26 degrees as your daytime highs. Plenty of sunshine, but that is where all the heat will be. Now we are going to see some fairly nice temperatures for parts of the island as well, 22 degrees in St. John's, but towards the west coast where we see more of those showers, which will taper to drizzle into the afternoon, but you're going to see your highs in and around 16 degrees for Corner Brook, and then cooler for the northern peninsula, about 12 to 13 degrees as your daytime highs. Sunday, definitely the best day of the weekend for sure. We will see a chance of a few showers in the morning, but then that should clear out. We should see some sunshine as the day goes on. Temperatures will start to rebound. 24 degrees for Corner Brook, 25 for Grand Falls, Windsor. And then those temperatures will still be in and around the high teens for eastern areas of the island, but another beautiful day across Labrador. Again, that chance of showers though for Lab West. However, it'll be later on in the day. Overall though, your temperatures are going to be gorgeous. 29 degrees in Happy Valley, Goose Bay, 28 in Cartwright, and then a gorgeous day up across Nain as well, sitting around 26 degrees. Now, for the rest of the weekend, or rather into the beginning of next week, temperatures are going to start to get back up into the 20s. We're also going to see a return of that humidity as well. 22 degrees, or at least the low 20s for Monday, Tuesday for St. John's and Eastern Newfoundland. At this point, just looking like a mix of sun and cloud. Now, for Central Newfoundland, you're looking at sunshine for Monday, return of those showers, though, as we get into Tuesday, and then same thing for the west. Now, yesterday I had a little bit more cloud cover, but it looks like the sun will come out certainly on Sunday, and then into Monday as well, with a mix of sun and cloud, temperatures in the mid-20s as your daytime highs. Now, as far as Eastern Labrador goes, the return of some showers both Monday and Tuesday, and then for Lab West, again, Monday looking a little bit unsettled, and your temperatures are going to drop a little bit, but overall still a pretty good forecast until we get there. So I wanted to share this photo. Look at this, what a weather shot this one is. A foggy shipwreck in Conception Bay Harbor. Jillian Ball shared that great shot with us. A beautiful shot there. If you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, send to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Ghostly.
It does look ghostly.
Yeah.
Beautiful
shot. Fog makes some beautiful photos.
It really does.
Yes.
Yeah,
I like it.
Well, that's it for us for this evening. Tomorrow's going to be a pretty big day for the Olympics. Opening ceremonies tomorrow, right?
Right, and that's our last show that's not going to be changed because of the Olympics over the next couple of weeks.
That's right, yeah.
I guess we can give the details tomorrow, but we will be on later during the Olympics.
Yeah.
And half an hour, but we'll give you all the details on tomorrow's version of Here and Now.
All right. Well, thanks so much, everyone, for joining us this evening. Hope you have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye now.
Good night.